There we are, we're live. Hey, everybody. Woo! I'm Haley Gray. I'm the founder of the Women's Entrepreneur Network, and I'm excited to be back with you here tonight and finally healed and new glasses, and excited to be here with my two friends, Velma and Victoria. And we're going to be talking about Burke's dictum. Lord, who came up with that one?
Hey, I heard somebody talking about it this week, and I thought this was a good thing, that wherever we are, whatever we do, we owe as much to the past as we do to the future, right? The people who've come before us, who've made our way, maybe it's the parent who sent us to college, or maybe it's a relative who gave us good advice. But it's not take the money and run. It's thank you. And how can I keep that in mind as I go forward? Not just planning for the future, but honoring the people who sacrificed whatever they sacrificed for us to be here, to be free. This week was D-Day. And I have a friend, Dick. He was 99. He died 3 months ago. And he was a guy who walked on the beach, Normandy, Omaha Beach in Normandy that day as a 19-year-old, maybe 20, but I think he was 19, with his single bolt action rifle, and scared to death, and told me about the boat trip from England that morning and throwing up. He was so scared, and coming up on the beach and men on all sides of him falling over dead because they've been shot by the Germans. And he said, I just kept going. And he said it was important. I just kept going so we could all be free. And I think, well, if it weren't for guys like Dick, maybe I'd be speaking German. So we think about that. So when I did his will long ago, and he got out his checkbook and I said, no, I'd be speaking German if it weren't for you. Because I think we all owe these people something.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. How does it apply to you?
Well, it reminds me of a conversation I had with someone a couple of weeks ago, and the reminder was that my parents' ceiling became my floor. And as I raised my son, my ceiling became his floor. And it's that same progression up that we do. We progress up through that. So I have every gratitude, because my parents' ceiling was my floor, and it was the same for them. So my grandparents' ceiling is what lifted my mom up in order that I could be where I am. And it just keeps going. That's what that reminds me of.
Mm-hmm. That's a really cool description of this. That's a very neat way to look at this.
Yeah.
How about you?
I have to say that this week I'm in the throes of dealing with the chaos that is my oldest, and the lessons I've previously learned dealing with parents with dementia prepared me very well to deal with a kid with schizophrenia. And, definitely has enabled me to have a lot of coping skills that I might not otherwise have. And I was thanking God yesterday for the education that my parents provided to me, that I have the negotiation skills that I need to be able to negotiate my daughter's care. And my parents, sent me to very expensive school to go get my master's. I went to Duke and got my MBA, and, thank God for my husband who supported me going back to school. And, my hope at the time had been obviously, massive growth in my business and all those things. And it has happened. But I would say on a deeply personal level, it has enabled our family to stay alive and to be as healthy as possible and to get the services that we need when we need them in a very broken system. And I'm grateful for that, so that my daughter stays safe. She stays alive in a world where, hopefully someday we'll have a treatment for what she has. And, it's kind of amazing to me that I've been given all of these tools and all of these resources and the ability to actually drop everything I'm doing. Yesterday and Monday night, we had a total 3-ring circus going on. And just the fact that I could drop what I was doing, that my team was able to take on parts of my work, that I was able to flex my schedule, how much, am I grateful for just to be able to do that? I mean, it's just amazing. Just everything that's come before has enabled me to be where I am now, to get the resources that I need in a situation that's absolutely critical, in a system that is completely and utterly broken. But we're able to navigate the system in a way that 99.9% of the other patients aren't.
What makes it extra hard is that this is a disease that doesn't get better, that each episode steps you down. Mm-hmm. It doesn't step you towards getting better. It doesn't. It's guaranteed to get worse. Mm-hmm. And to have the coping skills for that, it takes a lot of special stuff.
And it's taken a lot of years to get to those coping skills, right? And the family support network and all of the things to get to that point. And if it hadn't have been for my parents and grandparents and my husband and all of the resources to get to that point, we wouldn't be here. Literally.
Wow. Yeah.
Especially dealing with a kid with homicidal and suicidal ideations. We didn't have the skills to navigate the crazy broken system.
I heard Robert Kennedy talking about homicidal ideations that we're experiencing in the United States. And he was talking about a concurrence with the use of certain meds that we didn't have before, like Prozac. And that we're seeing so much of this at the same time as we're seeing greater and greater use of adolescents in those drugs, and that they're becoming very ill. And I haven't read the research. I'm simply quoting him, but it's different in our country, apparently, from other countries. Other countries that have guns, they're not doing this, but the countries that
I would
have
say, at least in our case, it has nothing to do with guns, and has little to do with the medication and everything to do with the illness, unfortunately.
I understand that for schizophrenia, but I'm talking about, just as an aside, with the number of people who are dealing with homicidal and suicidal children, the numbers are going up and up and up, and they're looking for causes of that. And your cause is schizophrenia.
I think that, to be really blunt, a lot of the antipsychotics, a lot of the mood stabilizers, a lot of the medications that are currently available in the psychiatric community are horrible. They don't do a great job. They have a lot of side effects. And, frankly, it's choose your least bad alternative. And they're all bad. And what happens with some of the
least
drugs,
side effects?
The least side effects for this particular individual is maybe even, like at this dose, at this particular situation, this may be the least bad combination of medications that we can manage for this particular situation. But one of the things that happens, unfortunately, with a lot of these drugs is that, particularly in adolescent brains, There is a risk of them being fine until they're not fine, until they're very suddenly suicidal or homicidal.
That was his point.
And it's not just in the US, it's everywhere, it's global. Anywhere that you are treating children for, depression and suicide attempts and those types of things, which are unfortunately not just the US. The medications are being used globally. And we do see that increased incident of teen suicide globally by a variety of means. It's just, unfortunately, the meds all suck because we're in a situation where our kids are in pressure cookers and those types of things. And the education system is a highly pressurized situation, and you get some really nasty side effects. So, there's a lot of societal issues around it, I will say for sure, but at least in our case with the use for schizophrenia, for antipsychotics, the drugs definitely have side effects, and they're all bad. Every single medication has huge side effects. There's no good ones. And there's no other, unfortunately, consistently, even remotely effective treatments. And it's just,
staying positive in a situation like that is very hard work.
Well, and when you know that the patient isn't necessarily going to get better with the current treatments available. My main hope is for the hope of treatments that are genetically based. As we're learning more about mRNA and we're learning more about genetic treatments and autoimmune and other things, I have some hope there that there will be some research that will be effective for treatment. Will it be soon enough for my child? I don't know.
And you wonder, what is it about late adolescence that turns this on? Not a whole lot of 5-year-olds with it.
There are 5-year-olds though with it.
There are some, but it seems to be 18 to
it's a genetic
25.
trigger, right? But there's a lot of things, autoimmune and otherwise, that get triggered in that same age range. So what it is about the human genetics involved that trigger it, at this point. I'm not a geneticist. I don't know. I sometimes play one. Sometimes I annoy the crap out of the doctors.
Well done.
Regularly annoy the crap out of the doctors and send them down rabbit holes and make them go research RCCX gene clusters and MCAS and all the fun things just because I can.
Well, you know what? And if we take on this Burke's dictum philosophy with that, you are likely triggering opportunities for those doctors to better serve others because you're making them research something that maybe it'll make an impact for your child, and maybe it'll end up making an impact for someone else as well, right?
I deal with a lot of med students. I live in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, and we have 2 major teaching hospitals here, Duke University and UNC. And my daughter has spent a lot of very quality time in both of them. We are on our 30 some odd hospitalization right now. And so I spend a lot of quality time talking to medical students and residents and picking their brains and otherwise driving them crazy. And it's a thing. And, maybe if the world is a better place as a result, then hopefully it is. And hopefully I can make the world a better place in other ways too. Not just driving poor med students crazy with a patient that is incredibly intractable.
Do you find
and who runs mind games around them, by the way. Do what?
Do you find that the med students are different from how they used to be? I do.
Yeah, a bit. I mean, from when she was born at 28 weeks, 25 years ago, yeah, I do find the med students are a bit different. But, I find that they're maybe more inquisitive, less rule following in some ways. little bit more open to searching for things or questioning the status quo.
Well, that would be great in a case like your daughter's.
Yeah. But I also will poke at them if they're afraid to give me bad news. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that, it's a 4-week wait list. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's a 4-week wait list, but you should be honest and tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't my first rodeo. One of your jobs as a doctor is to learn how to tell people bad news.
You're not
Well,
wrong.
I have a question. You have fires in Canada.
Yes.
And my town is so smoky it looks like Los Angeles at rush hour. Is
Mine
North
too.
Carolina as smoky?
Mm-hmm. And hazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What's this about other than things are dry and maybe lightning started it? What's the deal?
Well, so we've got fires on both sides of the country. So in the Maritimes, there's quite a few fires going on there, and in Alberta, BC, there's quite a few fires going on there. Right now, it's not too bad where I am, but we went through a week or two where I go for a walk in the morning, and I put my mask on again just so I could do my walk, which it made it easier as far as breathing was, like so far as the quality of air I was breathing, but it made it harder because I was trying to walk and
with an N95 mask on?
What's that?
With an N95 mask on to filter out all those crazy particles?
Oh, no, I didn't go that far. Didn't have one of those, but even just one of the masks that I was using during that time I put on just because it took care of some of the odor and made it just a little bit easier. Didn't start coughing or anything like that, but made the workout a little harder because I couldn't breathe as well with it. But it is what it is. I know. Yeah, there's quite a bit going on. I've kind of lost touch with a little bit of it because it's been going on for a bit. I didn't realize it was getting down to see you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in Niagara Falls this weekend, and it was beautiful and sunny, and the skies were perfectly clear, and we came back and it was gorgeous. And then the smog moved in on Monday.
Yeah, that's probably the ones in the Maritimes. Not sure which one of the provinces it is that's having the big problems, but yeah.
It was headlights were on the roads and down to a 1/4 mile visibility.
Wow, it's not quite that bad here, but it's been hazy and smoggy all day.
Yeah, IFR flying, and you can't. We have been gardening this week. We planted a dozen trees, and it's. We rented a U-Haul to pick up all this stuff, and this is kind of like apropos of nothing. And I've got this is my 10-second bitch right here. We have these gardeners who we hire to do these jobs, but they don't show up. And since last summer, I've been saying, we've got to get this done. We've got to get this. I've got a list. It's not like, well, they got bigger fish to fry. I got a list, and they've had a good run with us. And we finally said, we'll do it ourselves. And so I probably saved a boatload by doing it ourselves. And I didn't realize I had the capability of doing this because it's some kind of work, digging up holes and planting trees. But it was very satisfying, but we couldn't finish earlier in the day because it was so smoggy. So it'll be better.
2 of my kiddos are doing landscaping this summer, pulling weeds and for a couple of the old ladies. And
I get touchy about that.
Well, okay, but so they're pulling weeds, and one of them's working for a landscaper and digging holes and mulching and doing all the things. I'll be happy to send you a kit anytime you like. I have a free teenager loan program if you need one. They're sassy. They eat a lot, but they're pretty apparently good at what they do and pretty precision oriented.
There you go.
If you feed them and pay them, they might actually agree to it.
I had such a kid a couple of years ago, a friend's son who came and stayed for a week and got all kinds of stuff done. And
just tell me when you want them. I'll be happy to send them.
And this kid ended up with poison ivy in places that he didn't want to discuss and had to go home. His mother
Well, I
called
will
me to
tell you
me.
that both of mine are Boy Scouts and they can adequately identify poison ivy and they know how to avoid it.
Boy
That's what
Scouts
the
are
poison
good.
ivy spray is for.
I got it yesterday and I worked on it. Oh, and yesterday, nothing on the radar, nothing in the weather report. And I'm hearing this noise and I said, well, that sounds like rain. And we haven't had rain in quite a while. It's very dry here. And then it's like, what's that noise? Well, it was hail. The hail was penny-sized hail. I mean, it just came down in buckets. Everything was covered with ice. And here we are in the summer. It was 70 degrees, and then it was 52 degrees in about 3 minutes, and ice just dumped. So that was yesterday. So, I'm trying to get all this stuff planted, and Mother Nature is not cooperating, but it'll get done. So
Yeah, it doesn't like to behave. It really doesn't.
something, there was a guy, and his name is Dutch Sinse.
Mm-hmm.
Sinse, I believe is how it's spelled. And I saw, and it came up, I saw it on the news, and some Iowa or Kansas weather guy picked it up. There was a wobble in our weather. I think it was May 15th. And then you think, oh, well, it's a glitch in the radar. Well, then you look at the satellite pictures and it does the same thing. The whole country was bouncing on this day. And I went back and I looked at this, and I looked in my journal about that day and how unique the weather was. And this happened in the night, and it was just so weird. Look it up. And you think, somebody fooling with the weather, and that's what these guys were saying. This man is a USGS guy, and he's an earthquake. What do you call them? They predict them, and they, they're some kind of geologist, and I don't know what. And all of a sudden, these weather guys are all noticing this bounce. So look for it. And it was May 6th, not 16th, May 6th. And it was a wobble. And it's freaky. And it was only in the United States. It was not in Europe. It was not in Mexico. And I think it was in southern Canada. So I shouldn't say only in the United States. But it wasn't, wasn't in Africa, and it wasn't in Europe, and it wasn't in Australia. So look for the wobble and the bounce. And
We'll go
it's
look
just
for
freaky.
wobbles and the bounces.
Yeah, like you'll see the clouds, the radar doing this, but you'll see it on the satellite too. So, whoa, maybe somebody's got maybe that's why it's cold in the summer and dry and somebody's screwing with the weather. I don't know. I think it can happen. That's my unscientific opinion, everybody.
Mother Nature fluffed.
A little drunk.
Yeah. It had one
Having
too
whatever
many.
Victoria is having.
Way too many bubbly pops.
Mint from my garden. Little citrus punch, a little mint tea. And I wish I had something good in it, but you take what you can get, right? So, hey, I did something really fun last week. I went to the Indianapolis 500 and I had front row seats. And I wore ear protection, like no kidding, you wore ear protection. My ears were still ringing the second day. But what fun. What fun, 230 whatever miles an hour going around the track and sitting right there and looking at the pits. And it was fun.
That sounds like fun. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, me and 350,000 of my closest friends were there. Yeah, it was really
Only 350,000?
Only 350,000. And I drove up from Cincinnati, and that's like 94 miles. And I got at the exit off the interstate, and that last mile and a half took twice as long as it took me to get there from Cincinnati. So,
Wow.
I
Yeah,
can believe
yeah.
that. Yeah.
yeah. So if you ever get a chance, it's a thrill and a half. I'm going to go
Love it.
again. It was
I
really
love it.
fun. Yeah.
I love it.
What are y'all
Yeah.
doing this summer? Anything fun?
I went to Niagara Falls last weekend.
Were you on the Canadian side?
We went both sides.
I think the Canadian side is better. I think it's
Yeah.
prettier.
It definitely is
Velma.
gorgeous.
I went to Niagara Falls about 8 or 9 years ago. 8 years ago, I think. And it was pretty cool. I really did enjoy it. I only stayed on the Canadian side, so I have no reference point. But now this summer,
How
so
far is that from your house?
Well, the angle of the falls is such that they're just going to display better from the Canadian side. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly. But
Mm.
we did the American side and then did the Maid of the Mist and then walked across the bridge, which was really cool. And we went to the Canadian side, and then the next day we drove across to the Canadian side and went to the butterfly place. And then the old power station got renovated. We went down in the tunnel and walked out right there at the bottom of the Horseshoe Falls. It was really cool.
You came near my house if you went up there.
Yeah, we probably went flying by you like at 90 miles an hour or whatever my husband was driving.
Velma,
We'll
how
visit you
far?
sometime.
You have to. Velma, how far are you where you live from Niagara Falls?
2 time zones. So that's in Ontario, and I'm closer to the west coast. So I'm kind of in alignment with
You're in
Montana.
Montana. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So quite a ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you done the Trans-Canadian Railway?
No,
I hear
No.
it's really good.
I've
I've
heard
heard
that.
great things.
Yeah.
It's on
Yeah.
my bucket list. My bucket list is really, really long right now, but I have 2 kids in college still for a little while longer and 1 in boarding school. So
So you're not
driving
doing
to
that for
Niagara
a while.
Falls for the weekend was the extent of our fun for a little hot minute.
I had lunch today with a woman who just got home last Tuesday, who had left first week of January 7th, I think, and did all these months, 5 months on Regent 7 Seas around the world cruise. And I thought,
Fun.
Fun.
whoa, what didn't you see?
Right. Yeah.
So
That's on my bucket list.
I have animals and I can't leave them for that long. I just don't
No.
want to. It's a choice
No,
I've made to have animals and not do that.
Yeah,
don't
our
have any-
animals are, still, we have a house full, so same.
Yeah. I don't have any. Did I show you?
You showed me the paw print.
Yeah.
What
Very
happened?
cute.
That's a
Paw
paw
print.
print.
Oh, okay.
It's a paw
That's
print
my
tattoo.
Yeah, that's from my dog that passed away last spring. I don't have any trips planned until October. So, well, that's not 100% true. I've got a family reunion coming up in August, and
What city?
family reunion.
Mhm.
It's in Prince George, BC, so in semi-northern BC. So I'm looking forward to that. And then in October, I'm going Phoenix, Albuquerque, and then Philly.
Awesome.
You gonna call me?
Yes, I might stay an extra day or 2.
Counting on it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
you don't
will-
want to stay in Philly.
I will let you know the dates that I'm there. I'm staying with another friend in Philly for the mastermind that I'm there for. And I'll have to connect with you to figure out what to do after that.
I'm 45 minutes away.
Perfect.
There you go.
She's right there. Cool. Well, you know what? It is fun to hang out with y'all. Let us know what you're up to, what your summer plans are, what your fall plans are. We're halfway through the year.
I
What your
know.
plans are.
Yeah. and plan to be with good friends because this is really fun.
I agree.
Love
I
you,
love
girls.
it. Love you too. Y'all take care. Have a good night. We will chat soon.
Night.